A year ago, we were talking about, okay, what category are we in? Are we in this Sonic category? And I was like, no, we should be in the AI networking category. And everyone said, that's
Yeah.
not a category.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
And
it
here we
is.
are at the AI Networking Summit.
Mark, so happy to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, hey, a couple of thoughts like kind of coming into my head. One is I want to learn about Hedgehog,
Okay.
and about what you guys do, but also about you,
Okay.
as well, like kind of in your journey, and what brought you to to Hedgehog, as well. So I know you've been involved in a couple of companies, that have been acquired. So why don't we spend a little bit of time talking about kind of your journey and how you've gotten to like I guess this point in doing Hedgehog.
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. I really started thinking about Hedgehog when I was at Cisco. I was at Cisco for about 6 years, and I was working on go-to-market and partner strategy for mass-scale network automation. And so if you've ever heard of Crosswork, that was kind of the product portfolio I was working on. And in the course of doing that, just saw what we were doing with Cisco 8000 and selling that to hyperscalers like Microsoft or Google or Meta. And just said, hey, we really ought to have like an automation strategy for open networking, right? Because we had just announced, Jonathan had announced that we were going to disaggregate networking, we were going to support Sonic, and so that's really where the impetus came from. Fortunately, we just didn't have the operating budget at that point in time to go do it internally, and just kind of left gracefully on good terms to go raise some capital and build that automation strategy. That was the impetus for it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's great. Cisco's like such a great company for that, and where companies come in through acquisition. A lot of individuals stay for a really long time. So there's a really good culture inside there.
It's a great culture.
And then. And others, will stay there for a while, and then they'll leave and they'll start other things, and they'll leave on good terms, and the relationship is solid. I'm sure that's not always the case, but it seems to be more often the case.
I was honestly I was surprised at how supportive Kevin Vollenweber and Jared Headley were in helping all that happen.
Yeah, how awesome! Yeah, Kevin's great. And so is Tom Gillis. It's like just really great executives. Good, great pedigree there. Okay, then let's talk about Hedgehog. So, kind of what your major play is, and value proposition, and how you're participating in the marketplace, especially on Sonic. Like Sonic, it's been around for about a decade or so, and clearly, like Microsoft was really driving it. Really popular in the hyperscale community. So you have an operating system, and you can buy hardware from various different suppliers. And then be able to kind of optimize and tweak it together to kind of meet your requirements. But where in the enterprise marketplace, they didn't want to do that disaggregation. It's like they didn't feel like, and this is going back that decade time frame, because this is in the same time as like OpenFlow, was around. And the OpenFlow was talking about that whole disaggregation.
Yeah.
And so the issue there was that in the large enterprise was like, all right, how much am I really saving, and what is it really going to cost me operationally? And so the value prop wasn't there, but that's radically changed, now.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about that, So first Hedgehog, and then let's talk about kind of the Sonic marketplace.
Yeah. So our mission at Hedgehog is to enable enterprises to network like hyperscalers. So what that means is, what we take care of is all of the stuff around Sonic to make it usable in the enterprise. And the approach to that was to take a modern cloud native approach. So if enterprises have been migrating workloads to public cloud, they have sort of an aging network engineering workforce, and their newer workforce is growing up on the cloud, and they're getting their certifications from people like Amazon. Let's make it possible to run infrastructure on-prem or in a hybrid cloud environment that looks, feels, operates like public cloud. So that you can run your own infrastructure with the same people, same process, same tools, same skills you may already have for public cloud. So that's kind of how we went about building the product. And yeah, along the way, what we found is, yeah, Community Sonic is really just built for hyperscalers, and it lacks a lot of the features that an enterprise needs. So that was kind of the first challenge we ran into, is how do we get how do we get features in the network operating system that our software appliance can then use to enable an enterprise to provision multiple tenants on shared infrastructure with a virtual private cloud that looks and feels like a virtual private cloud you would get on AWS or Azure or GCP.
Yeah.
So that was challenging.
Yeah, so that's the cloud UX,
Yes.
So so it's like, okay, let's provide, kind of a common environment, where you would have cloud engineers. This is kind of natural and normal, normal for them.
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
That's right.
okay. That's super. So then, which piece of the stack is Hedgehog, providing? So we have kind of the white box, hardware. We have Sonic as the operating system, and then there's a suite of different kinds of applications around configuration, change management, orchestration, and so forth. So where does Hedgehog kind of fit
So
in?
we deliver a turnkey software appliance that's open source, and it has everything you need to run an enterprise cloud network. So that includes Sonic.
Yeah.
It also includes, what we call zero-touch lifecycle management, which is zero-touch provisioning, which a lot of people have, but also the sort of ongoing lifecycle maintenance, software updates, that kind of thing. Moves, adds, deletes on equipment. And then we built a controller. We did that on Kubernetes. And so that API that we provide, which is the primary way that our customers interact with the product, it's a cloud-native API. And that's kind of the secret, if you will, to enabling that same people, process, tools, skills you already have. You can use your CNCF, your cloud-native tool chain, to operate a Hedgehog cloud network without ever really having to deal with the operating system or needing to hire a network engineer.
Yeah, awesome. It's so funny. Like, this is like kind of years ago at within Onug. There was a board member. His name was James Yunan. James was at UBS. He has since passed away. But Jim, this had to be in the 2016 time frame. No, 2016 time frame, of course, where he basically put together. It was the UNAM principles, and one of the principles was like zero touch. So it's taken some time.
Yep.
This has really been kind of required in the marketplace. But so in essence, okay, great. You place these products in, and you don't have to have a lot of keys on on keyboards.
Right.
So what does that handshake kind of look like, from the controller?
Yeah. Well, so you just you download our software appliance. You can do that at hedgehog.cloud. You click the download button, download the software appliance onto a control node, which is just a lightweight server. It's plugged into your switch fabric. Everything's cabled up. You run the fabricator, and the one sort of prep thing you need to do is write a YAML file that explains how things are physically cabled, and then it does the zero-touch provisioning. So that's sort of day zero, and then day one is, hey, I need to put tenants on this on this private cloud. So you use the API to provision virtual private clouds for tenants, and then attach resources to those VPCs. And then day N is, hey, I gotta update the software, update the operating system, update any of the components. I need to add switches, remove switches, replace switches, etc. And the servers that go with them. So all of that's fully automated, and we like to call it zero-touch lifecycle management. It also includes open observability. So we're collecting telemetry for all of your devices. We do it on an LGTM stack from Grafana, and we include Grafana dashboards out of the box so that you've got observability on everything going on in your network.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So where's the telemetry data stored?
Logs go into Loki. Flows go into Prometheus, and we'll be adding traces here shortly.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Well,
because I think that's been the interest in the kind of the enterprise community, I think, is because of like that kind of stack. being available. It's like it's not that you need a network engineer to take a white box, load the operating system onto it, and then kind of search kind of a directory, for various different applications. So yeah, you're making it a lot easier, and you're kind of really just hitting some of the hot buttons, around usability and deployability, of it. So that's super great. Are there any other kinds of applications that you're kind of either thinking of or that you already have available that can run from a management and an operations point of view?
Well, obviously, since we started the company, this thing called AI came along.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like a year ago, we were talking about, okay, what category are we in? Are we in this Sonic category? And I was like, no, we should be in the AI networking category. And everyone said, that's not a category.
Oh, yeah,
and here we are at the AI Networking Summit, right?
Sure is.
So yeah, we're gonna be on stage in just a little bit here with John Michael Hands, who's one of our customers. He's CEO of Farm GPU, but they're a neocloud, right? And they offer GPU as a service, right? So it turns out that's great for this cloud user experience that we built. Yeah. You're going to compete with the big three. You might want to offer the same kind of foundational cloud network services as the big three. Yep. That VPC being one of them. And then, when you're designing a fabric for a GPU cluster, the one we're going to talk about is a B200 cluster. It's different, right, than what you've been doing in the past, and performance matters a lot. Yep. So we put a lot of effort into performance tuning the back-end GPU network so that you get maximum throughput. In fact, what you're going to see today is independently tested and verified nickel performance data, NVIDIA Collective Communication Library performance data that shows that Hedgehog Celestica AI network at Farm GPU, they're getting better performance than some of the NVIDIA benchmarks.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kind of like open technology getting better than proprietary technology. You can understand that with, there's been so much work been put into Sonic by so many, and especially the hyperscalers, who kind of know these kinds of systems, but especially on the GPU, on the kind of GPU back end.
Yeah,
that's super impressive.
And one of the things that we learned in going through that whole process is that you have to address the host as well. And part of this is zero-touch provisioning, right? So if you're going to provision an 800 gig optical network, guess what? The optics are kind of hard.
Yeah.
And so you've got to put in like day zero testing procedures just to make sure that you have light. You got layer one connectivity across those links before you do anything else. And then you need to tune the NIC. So in this particular OCP reference architecture, they're ConnectX-7 NICs. But the configuration of the NIC is as important as the configuration of the switch to get that kind of performance.
Yeah, I would think. It's like you have like that n-1 divided by n problem when you're doing kind of GPU interconnect, because we're doing class-based architectures, non-blocking architectures, and so there's just a ton, that drives just a ton of connections.
Yeah.
And making sure that they all work, because like usually it's always the physical layer that seems to kind of break. And especially when you have that kind of density around connections, and they're all optical, as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. And it's harder than it might seem at first.
Yeah, just what the hell? I'm just plugging something in, but no, it's a lot harder than that. That's that's for sure. Yeah. It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
So on the Sonic deployments, like I know of one deployment which is about 3,000 nodes. I can't mention the company, but about 3,000 nodes. That's scale. That's pretty big. And the difficulty and that they have. That they're ironing out is just it's not configuration, but it's really around management.
Sure.
Of it. So what kind of issues have you seen and that you guys are addressing?
Well, like I said, it's a fully automated, fully managed system. So the idea is that you enable a DevOps engineer. So like one of our customers is Zipline. We've got a video going in our booth, but they do automated drone delivery, right? Mm-hmm. And they operate their own private cloud, at a 70% cost savings compared to public cloud.
Yeah, makes sense.
And they're running computer vision models. They're training them so that drones can navigate to a store, pick up a delivery, and drop it off at your house, right? But they operate that private AI cloud with one person.
Wow.
And that person is not a network engineer.
Yeah.
The DevOps engineer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we spent a lot of time and effort. We spent 3 years building this product so that can happen.
Yeah.
And then the product that we're going to be releasing here in just a couple of weeks is an extension to that fabric, right? So I talked to you about like provisioning tenants with virtual private clouds and then having full observability and lifecycle management on it. A lot of times you're going to have multiple tenants with multiple VPCs. And today you can use our API to get those VPCs to peer with each other if you want them to, internally. But a lot of times you need to make them peer externally. And those external peerings may not always be with other Hedgehog clouds. They may be with AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. So that's where our gateway comes in. It kind of like operates like an AWS transit gateway, if you're familiar with that. It gets packets in and out of the cluster, and it does it in a secure way. And that also solves bottlenecks that our customers have. So if you look at like a NeoCloud, like Farm GPU, right? Their bottleneck now is just enabling their tenants to get massive amounts of training data in and out of that cluster.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they need a really high performance, high throughput gateway, like 200 gigabits per second kind of throughput.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that sounds great. So the actually the other the other thought that I was getting simultaneously, and it was confusing me, but I sorted it out. Is now you were saying that a second ago that you should be an AI networking company.
Yeah.
All right. So are you basically just looking at, okay, Sonic is just one kind of implementation, or there would be other, other operating systems, network operating systems that you would support and become just, a broader zero config and lifecycle management company?
Yeah, I like to say we're a turnkey software appliance, right? That gives you everything you need to run your own private cloud infrastructure or hybrid cloud infrastructure. So that includes a number of open source software projects, right? And the way we build it is generally if there's open source available, we use it, we incorporate that project. If it isn't available, we build it. And that's the Hedgehog project. So Sonic is one of those.
Yeah.
And from being part of the community that it's fragmented. There are different versions of Sonic, right?
Yeah.
So the nirvana is that everything gets upstreamed and there's a community Sonic distribution that has everything everybody needs, but the reality is there's a lot of different vendor distributions. So I'd say the primary purpose of Sonic is that we want to be an open source software appliance. And that gives customers freedom to choose the equipment vendor that they need at any given point in time, right? It's diversifying the supply chain. It's doing the same. That's why Hyperscalers sort of invented it at OCP, is so that they could source OCP equipment from multiple vendors.
Yeah.
So there's certainly value in that, but I'd say the Hedgehog product is much more than an operating system, and so. Yeah, if a customer wants us to support another operating system, we'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be not just a different version of the Sonic distro. It could be like iOS or NOS or
correct.
Yeah. It's great.
It could be Cumulus. It could be Nexus. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, awesome. That's great. Well, that'll expand the market, for Hedgehog. So and also it's like that, especially if you have mixed environments. And if you can provide that similar, kind of zero-touch provisioning, cloud UX, kind of experience, and then going into observability and kind of troubleshooting management as a tool for kind of operators. Yeah, that's a much bigger market.
And the business it achieves the business value, right? Which is, hey, you can have your choice of equipment. You're not locked into a particular vendor.
For sure, yeah.
And so we, right now we support equipment from Celestica, Dell, EdgeCore, Supermicro. That's all in our lab.
Yeah.
We test it every day with continuous automated testing. and we just want to, we want to be able to offer more device selection.
Yeah, awesome. That's super. Yeah, because so those early day issues that I mentioned before is like, oh, I don't, like, I remember I can't mention the company. Sorry. I remember there's one company basically saying, we're not going to take like switches and have our engineers put an operating system on top of it, and then going to do the configuration, test it, and then roll it out one switch at a time. You've mitigated all that, and that's all done, and that is like super. That is like super great. It kind of eliminates a huge kind of pain point, that was associated with Sonic. And frankly, I think that's why I'm really bullish around Sonic in this community. It's because it's like it's matured. It's proven in really large scale implementation. So there's not a scale issue, and now the kind of configuration piece has also been addressed and automated. So congratulations, Mark. That's really great.
Yeah, well, and just thank you for fostering the community, because I think it really is important for just the networking industry as a whole, right? Is to support open standards on the hardware side and open source software on the software side.
Yeah. Well, our name is Open Networking User Group,
right? Yeah.
And it's taken a long time,
right,
to get the ON part of that actually to marketplace. So, we're really super happy to have this technology.
It really is
here.
Amazing. It's taken so long, right? I mean, if you look at storage or compute, right? I started my career, doing stuff with Sun Microsystems, right, and Solaris, and not a lot of people do that anymore, right? The world moved on to Linux. And it's just taken longer for networking. And I think part of the reason for that is networking's hard. It's really
very hard. Yeah, it's hard, and I'm not sure of how much of a science it actually is. It's probably more of an art, and it's a kind of a black art, and there's there are a few wizards, that are out there. Obviously, there's Cisco's done a great job with the CCIEs, and there's a lot of really smart people there, but there's a lot more people who I think do DevOps.
So. And that's part of what we do with the product, right? Is we take a fabric for a particular use case.
Yeah.
So we talk about AI training or AI inference, but there's also just a standard, class topology, right?
Yeah.
And we productize it with the sort of secret sauce configuration that you would otherwise need to go, hire a CCIE to go figure out for you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of assuming that there are multiple different kind of configurations and use cases that now, yourself, Celestica, Supermicro, Dell, like your partners, are involved in. So we mentioned GPU backend, two-tier data centers, same thing, campus networking as well. So, and there may be others, also, but I think it's the Sonic implementations are not. It's more general purpose, it seems now. Obviously, the hardware is going to be different, depending upon where those configurations are. But the whole UI and the zero trust and all of that stays the same.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's a real advantage and a real benefit, associated with having a common operating system across all these different environments.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
right. And a common controller across all of it too, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about Zipline a minute ago, right? So they're running a private cloud to train the models that fly the drones.
Yeah.
But then the drones also need docking stations out in the field at stores, right? And you can think of those drones as it's the data edge. The inference models are running on a GPU in the drone.
Yeah.
And those drones are collecting a lot of data as well. So when they dock, they need an access network. It's an IoT access network, and you need a switch for that. And it doesn't need to be an 800 gig switch. 10 gig will do just fine. But the point is that for AI inference, you need access networking at the data edge as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other kinds of applications that you're looking at? So you have observability. Anything else? Well,
the gateways. The gateway's a pretty big step. So you can think of it as like a software-based router that runs on a commodity x86 server with the initial architecture will be on a ConnectX-7 NIC, and it's a scale-out data center interconnect gateway, and then it's the other thing it does is sort of minimum viable security features. So that you don't have to buy a router and then buy firewalls and use less than 10% of the features on that firewall. You get the security features you need with the high performance data plane that you need to get packets in and out of your cluster. So there's sort of a long list of security features that we can add into that.
Yeah.
And then we've got customers asking for load balancing too. And it turns out there's some open source projects that do, layer 7 load balancing, layer 4 load balancing. So those will be add-ons on the gateway.
Yeah.
And then the host-based networking, once we're on the host and we're doing things like, testing ports and configuring NICs, there's a lot more things that we can do to optimize, workloads.
Yeah. Load balancing was clearly one of them. Firewalls is clearly another application as well. So I think like all of the products that used to be physical will become more obviously virtualized and software, and be able to kind of be distributed throughout this platform.
Yeah, and the whole idea is to just disaggregate the hardware appliance into a software networking function that can run on hardware of your choice.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, this has been really great. I learned so much. I know so much more about Hedgehog. Which is like super great. And now, if anyone watched this, so will they. So, Mark, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Awesome.